Good, beautiful Sunday, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the HR Cafe, Usapang Trabaho, Buhay, Iba Pa. Today is May 1. It's World Labor's Day. Isang mapagpalang araw ng mga manggagawa para sa lahat ng mga workers and employees na nanonood at nakikinig sa atin ngayon. Our topic for today is about people matters, building a culture of malasakit for people. And our guest for today's episode of the HR Cafe is no other than Mr. Englebert Kamasura, who's one of the seasoned HR leaders and industry leaders. And he will be talking about Malasakit, a Filipino core value that embodies the Filipinos' utmost concern for others manifested in the Filipino social and cultural concept of kapwa. In the workplace, malasakit is manifested by workers who goes about his or her job as if the company were his or her own, or by an employer who relates the staff as if they were part of his or her family. Pag-usapan po natin kung paano ang pagkakaroon ng malasakit culture ay napaka-importante sa mga kumpanya ngayon. So please watch out for that at the second part of our episode for today for the HR Cafe, Usapang Trabaho, Buhay, Iba Pa. I welcome you to our program for today. And as you know, every 3 p.m. Sunday, we have our weekly HR program sponsored by the Philippines HR Group. This is the HR Cafe, Trabaho, Buhay, Iba Pa. We are an online talk show and free training program. My name is Coach Darwin Rivers. I'm one of the HR Cafe servers. I'm one of your program hosts. I'm the founder and president of the Philippines HR Group. I'm a certified life coach, a public speaker, motivational speaker, and HR consultant. I'm also the vice president for HR Global Operations of a large multinational BPO company. Joining with me today will be no other than our mentor, Tina Coang, our one of our HR Cafe servers. And mentor Tina is an operations and HR leader with broad local and overseas experience. She's a general manager of a retail company and best known for online content and blog tinaandmanila.com. Hi, Mentor Tina. Happy Sunday.
Magandang
Happy
hapon
Labor
sa
Day.
inyong lahat and happy Labor Day to everyone. I'm so glad that there are people who are listening and watching at the HR Cafe. Lalong-lalo na sa ating, sino mga guests natin ngayon? Si Bong Tuplano, happy Sunday. Sir Darwin and Ma'am Tina, Mir Nakabantog is watching from Balagtas, Bulacan. Happy Labor Day. Carmelita Tabadeza de Guzman is watching from Cavite. Edison Andamo, happy Labor Day. Thank you for listening to us once again. And we would like to welcome everyone to please leave your name, your company name, and where you are from in the Philippines or otherwise so that we can give you a shout out in the show.
Mentors Ronald Del Ferentino and mentors Bern Ordonez Casi won't be joining us, but of course, my constant mentor Kinoko Ang will be co-anchoring for this episode. Now, let's start our program. We welcome you to the HR Cafe. Here at the HR Cafe, we provide timely news and updates. We impart knowledge and experience that are value-adding and beneficial to you, our audience. We discuss problems, issues, and challenges and provide answers and resolutions with the help of our guest resource. If there are any new technologies, tools, and processes, we discuss it here because we would like to share to you any best practice that we have in the industry. We're also a virtual job board, so if you have any job opening, please post it at the comment section and we will be happy to announce it so that we can inform those who are listening right now who are looking for work. End of the day, we would like to bridge understanding between employers and employees and to inspire and motivate everyone, the Filipino working community. Magandang araw at welcome to the HR Cafe. We start our program with our wow quote for the week. For this week, our wow quote for the week comes from a highly respectable spiritual leader. This is coming from the Dalai Lama. According to the Dalai Lama, a sense of concern for others gives our lives meaning. It is the root of all human happiness. Let me just repeat that. A sense of concern for others gives our lives meaning. It is the root of all human happiness. How does this particular quote resonates to you? Please share it to us via the comment section, and we'll be happy to share it to our community. Mentor Tina, let's start with you.
Okay. A really big reason. For people who know me, I used to actually work overseas before. And 'di ba sabi nga nila pag nagtatrabaho ka sa ibang bansa, mas mataas yung sahod mo. And it's somewhat true that if you are pretty competent, your salary grade sometimes is higher than what you will ever get in the Philippines. But that's a big problem though with money, is that in the beginning, parang ang taas pa yung, may diminishing return siya. So meaning to say, dati, 'di ba, wala ka masyadong pera, tapos nagkaroon ka ng malaking bonus. So sobrang tuwa mo. But as time goes on and as time na nangyari na parang parami ng parami yung pera mo, the satisfaction and contentment that you get in purchasing things for yourself and for your immediate family, the satisfaction actually goes down. Kaya that's the reason why sabi ng tao, parang ang daming-daming tao na ang yaman na nila, ang ganda na ng asawa nila, ang ganda na ng mga anak nila, sobrang swerte na nila, wala silang kailangan sa buhay, pero bakit pa rin sila nagpapakamatay? And it's not an empty statistics because yun nga yung sinasabi na parang it should be the poor who should be desperate and sad and should commit suicide. But actually, those who are wealthy and privileged are also very much depressed, unhappy, discontent with their life, and ultimately end up their life. Because what they lack is, lahat meron mo na. Pero anong ginawa mo para sa iba? Because it's really true. Like, as the saying goes, the more you give, the bigger your heart the bigger your heart becomes. But the more that you take things for yourself, then paliit ng paliit yung mundo mo kasi you're actually not making a difference in the lives of others. And even if you pass away, who's gonna go to your funeral? There is no fulfillment if you're just serving others. Because I sincerely believe that we're placed in the world to contribute to other people. And I hope that everyone has that. Kasi lalo na ngayon sa election, sobrang daming tao na nagvo-volunteer, nag-house to house, tumutulong sa ibang tao. And even before, during the lockdown, I know you, Darwin, have been like giving your time, money, and service away to other people. And there is that contentment in being concerned about other people beyond yourself. And then mapapansin mo kung kahit ikaw ay may sakit, hindi ikaw ay heartbroken, ikaw ay nawalan, yung nagkaproblema sa trabaho, nagpaparinig ba ako ngayon, Darwin? Even if you have all these personal problems, if you actually give consideration to other people in need, your problems become so small. That's the benefit of that. The more you give yourself, the more blessed you become, the more content you become. And yung mga problema mo sa bahay, hindi na siya masyadong nagiging malaking problema, lumiliit na siya. Kasi yung utak mo napupunta sa iba, hindi sa sarili mo. Whereas a lot of people, kasi if you always worry about yourself, you always worry about your pockets, your love life, your work, then you realize that the more you think about these things, the more depressed you get. Nakakatawa yun, di ba? Kasi parang sa'yo, parang naiipit ka, you feel that you're alone and there's nobody helping you out. So very important for us HR, we should have a sense of concern for others because the best HR is those that do not think about themselves. But those who think
Agree.
about others, kasi once you focus on giving your service, time, and talent to others, you actually become very good as an HR officer. And there is really a very long career path for somebody who's not selfish and actually puts others first. Yun talaga yung pinakamalaki, which is perfect for today's topic, which is malasakit, which we will discuss
Correct.
later. How about you, Coach Darwin?
Ako ano, I remember this happened when I was in high school. I was on a second year high school and I was a student assistant. That time I've asked my favorite teacher, "Ma'am, um I wanted to be a teacher when I wanted to pursue education when I graduate high school and go to college. I want to take education. Alam mo, sabi ng teacher ko, huwag ka magti-teacher, mababa ang sahod.
Oh.
Sabi niya, huwag ka magti-teacher, mababa ang sahod. Then I asked her, ma'am, pero kayo, you've been a teacher for more than 20 years. Pero you feel you look young, you feel happy. And you know what she said? She said that kasi I realized in my profession that hindi lang pera ang importante.
Mm.
That whenever she is able to teach people, whenever she is able to help her students, whenever she is able to see her students graduate and become successful, there's a certain fulfillment in her that hindi nabibili ng pera. At yan ang kailangan natin ma-realize not only in teaching but in all jobs. Either sundalo ka, either HR ka, either manager ka, or anuman ang trabaho mo. Nandun ka sa trabaho mo, marirealize mo na yung trabaho mo, kailangan mo makita siya as importante, may value. Hindi ka lang nagtatrabaho para sa sarili mo, para sa pamilya mo, pero yung trabaho mo, nakaka-apekto siya sa ibang tao. You know what? Tina, I just want to share this to you. Nung college ako, meron kami kinakainang lugawan malapit sa PUP. At ang lugaw doon, 5 pesos. 5 pesos yung hindi pa yun 5 pesos. And this is free refill. And you know what? Siya na lang yung natitirang lugawan doon sa area. Tapos, kinuwento sa akin ng may-ari na na binibili na yung pwesto niya kasi gagawin yung parang what you call this? Parang commercial center at ayaw niya ipagbili. Pero yung mga anak niya, pinipilit siyang ipagbili na. Kasi ano lang ba ang tinutubo niya dun sa 5 pesos na refillable lugaw, di ba? Pero alam mo kung anong sabi niya? Hindi ko to bibitawan kasi itong trabahong to, napapakain ko yung mga estudyanteng walang pera.
Tama.
Itong business ko na to, na nare-realize ko na dahil napapakain ko yung mga estudyanteng walang pera o kunti lang ang pera, nakapagtapos sila at nagpapasalamat sila sa akin. So there's, in every job that we do, in everything that we do, we just have to look into the things that would not only affects us, but also affect other people. Kasi yung ginagawa mo sa araw-araw, sa trabaho mo, hindi lang ikaw ang naapektuhan nun, pati yung mga taong nakapaligid sa'yo. So, now, today is Labor Day. Take pride in whatever you do. Alam ko, isa sa pinakamalaking issue ngayon sa Labor Day is marami ang humihingi ng dagdag na sahod. Di ba, Mentor Tina? Marami ang nagpo-push sa dagdag na sahod. At napaka-importante naman talaga ng financial reward. At na dapat yung kinikita, yung sinasahod ng mga magagawa ay pantay sa kanyang ginagasos. Pero we've known a lot of people in different kind of industries, in different work, who hindi lang pera ang importante kasi alam nila they're contributing not only to people but also their community. So that's my take today.
Alright.
So, baka naman may mga nag-share na dyan sa ating audience for today.
Sir,
About
meron
the-
pong nag-greet. Aquila B is saying hello po. JB De La Cruz is saying hello coaches watching live from Iloilo City. Maganda yan, mga live. Cristelita Palma watching from Nueva Ecija. R2 Lim Amazing is from the Philippines. We have Jasmine Jenny Rivera watching from Baguio City. Marian Serrano Villanueva likes my insight. And Marian Serrano Villanueva thanks you for your story. She loves it. O, diba? Next.
Thank you. Now, HR question for the week. May nakita naman ako nitong ganito. Employee gusto mag-resign at sinasabi niya na may karapatan ba daw ang isang employee na mag-render ng immediate resignation? What do you think, Mentor Tila?
Bakit ganun, no? Palagi. Lagi. Every year. Yun palagi ang tanong. Regardless of whichever industry. Put it this way. Okay lang ba sa inyo ang ghosting? Ghosting, yung sasabi yung kunyari biglang mawawala na. Okay, ganito lang yun. There are only a few factors that the law allows for immediate resignation, ha? Number 1, serious insult by the employer or his representative on the honor and person of the employee.
Correct.
Note, hindi ibig sabihin na offend ka. Serious insult yun. Such serious insult must be documented and actually escalated before it becomes a reason on why you are immediately allowed immediate resignation. Okay? Hindi pwede, ay, nasaktan yung feelings ko, kaya pwede na akong umalis bukas, hindi na ako papasok.
Mm.
Make sure that your serious insult is substantiated and is real. Okay? Sa mga taong ayaw ng fake news, wag rin kayong gumawa ng fake news. Number two, inhuman and unbearable treatment accorded by the employer or his representative. Excuse me. Not approving your leave when you ask is not unbearable treatment. Kasi may mga tao, ay nagtatampo ko kasi yung leave ko hindi ako pinayagan ng boss ko. Eh baka
O
for
kasi sabi
example,
nila ang leave daw karapatan ng
or
manggagawa.
which is totoo naman, there is a 5-day service incentive leave, but management does have the right to approve or disapprove. That is what seeking approval means. Hindi ibig sabihin, sinabihan mo yung employer mo na magli-leave ka, kailangan nilang i-approve kasi nagtanong ka. It's the same with, for example, hingin ka ng salary increase. Pwede ka naman magtanong. Pero wag kang magagalit pag kunyari hindi ka na-approvean. 3. Commission of a crime or offense by the employer or his representative against the person of the employee or any of the immediate members of his family and other causes analogous to any of the foregoing. Given that, hindi po kasama itong mga rason after nasasabihin ko ngayon para for immediate resignation. Number 1, walang mag-aalaga sa anak mo. Okay?
Mm.
Number 2, unsubstantiated mental health issue. If you feel that you have mental health issues, please immediately seek clinical psychiatric help and get it documented and actually process that document with HR. Hindi
Correct.
po pwede, for example, sasabihin mo lang, ay, aalis ako kasi it's not good for my mental health
I'm
anymore.
depressed. I'm having anxiety at this work.
Yes, very important. It's not that we are undermining, but very important for you to substantiate. Make sure
Correct.
that you actually have a document para madaling i-process at ma-understand talaga ng company yung mental health issues mo. So they can be more
At para matulungan
understanding.
din sila, 'di ba? Para matulungan din
Correct.
sila.
Yeah. Number 3, hindi ka na masaya. Ayaw mo na magtrabaho. Malayo ang bahay mo sa lugar ng pinagtatrabahuhan mo. Yeah, these are the many reasons talaga. Make sure if you are undergoing immediate resignation, it's really something that the company has done and is sincerely abusive. Why? Kasi ganito, okay lang mag-resign, walang problema. But the manner on how you resign is very impactful when you are looking for your next job. Ulitin ko ha, the manner how you resign is one of the most significant, for me one of the most significant factors in hiring an applicant. Kasi for example, ang tatanungin ko sa interview, bakit ka umalis sa company mo dati? Second question ko, how many days kang nag-render? Oh, 'di ba? Yung gano'n eh. And I welcome yung mga interviewers, you have to ask this. Like, tatanungin mo sa kanila, kailan ka nag-resign? Ay, ma'am, nagpaalam ako. Correct, walang problema, nagpaalam. So, kailan ka nagbigay ng resignation letter? And when was your last day of work? Now, when an applicant tells me, ma'am, actually 5 days pa lang, tapos pinayagan na akong umexit. Then I will start asking more questions. Bakit ka pinayagan? Hindi ba dapat the law accords a company 30 days? So it's either you are not that useful in your job, hence you are easily replaced by somebody else. B, they were so excited in letting you go because of some problems you might have before you resigned. Di ba parang sobrang excited na silang mawala ka kaya sinushorten na lang nila yung 30 days? C, there's nothing to turn over, meaning to say there's nothing that you did too much. Or number 4, parang pinilit mo sila. You know, like sabi, ma'am, I can't really come in tomorrow, so you must exit me tomorrow because wala mag-aalaga talaga sa anak ko. And hence, walang magawa yung company but to exit you so fast. Again, as much as possible, please render 30 days of notice because interviewers in the future afterwards will ask that question kung nag-render ka ng maayos. And ito, Tip lang, if nag-render kayo ng maayos ng 30 days, plus points yan sa application. Plus points because you will be very surprised that so many other employees do not render properly. They were okay to burn their bridges in the previous work, and then pag naghahanap na ng bagong trabaho, malalaman pala nila, oops, mali pala yung my unprofessionalism of months and years ago is starting to bite me in my application today. So my tip to all job seekers, please render proper 30-day notice, and wag na tayong mag-immediate resignation kasi hindi yan maganda pag naghahanap ka ng bagong trabaho. Hindi talaga. And kunyari nakatakas ka with somebody like me, there will always be a company or another interviewer who will ask you, why did you resign from that company and how did you resign from that company? Okay? Okay. Coach Dar?
In the advent of internet, in the advent of third-party background investigators, in the advent of Marites, 'di ba?
Mm-mm.
Hindi ka makakatakas pagdating sa reason kung nag-file ka ng immediate resignation o nag-render ka ng 30 days. Basically, the law states that an employee should render a 30-day notice period. Tapos, pag hindi ka naman nag-render, the company has all the right to um, run after
For
you if
damages.
for damages if the work that you've left significantly impacts the business and may have
Mm.
caused significant financial or business loss opportunities. At hindi lang yun, di ba? Sabi ko nga, in the advent of internet, background investigators and Marites, yung mga ganyan, kung sa tingin nyo, napakalaki ng Pilipinas, ang HR world po napakaliit lang. Halos magkakilala po yung mga tao. Or kung di man halos magkakilala, one way or another, people would know you. And they would say things, good or bad, depending on whatever history you've had with your working relations with them. So basically, I would really suggest that proper rendering of 30-day notice is a must. Plus, unawain nyo na lang naman. Nung time na nag-a-apply kayo ng
Mm-mm.
trabaho, halos luhod kayo at halos ipagdasal nyo yung trabahong to na dapat matanggap ako kasi itong trabahong to makapagbibigay sa akin ng it will help me, blah, 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 blah. And then bigla ka nalang aalis nang wala ka malamang respeto doon sa taong nag-hire sa'yo at doon sa company na binigyan ka ng pagkakataon, na binigyan ka ng experience and training. So, it speaks a lot of your character. It speaks a lot of your maturity as a professional. It speaks a lot of the values that you have as a person. If you really want to go far in your career and be successful in your career, I would suggest that if you feel that your current work is no longer positive in whatever means for your career, then render proper resignation, di ba? Render proper notice period. Don't never burn bridges because you never know if you will need to cross that bridge again. So that's it for me. Baka may mga may mga inputs tayo from our audience. Mentor
We
Tina.
have greeters. We have Artu Lim from Amazing Philippines. We have Lou Lizelle. Hi, mentors and coaches. Dian Cot, welcome. And he's watching from Dasmariñas, Cavite. Claire
Hi, Dee.
Amante has tagged all of her friends. Josel Guevara, Kizel Rosel, Magpantay Cyrus, Mojica, Lady Suzette, Alimagno Resulta, Arvin Delmo. Welcome. Darius Gamboa de la Cruz. So welcome to the HR Cafe. Next.
Let's go to our updates. At napaka-importante, marami nagtatanong, holiday po ba sa March 3?
Okay. FYI, recommended po, okay, ng National Commission on Muslim Filipinos na May 3 will be our Idil Fitr, which is the Feast of Ramadan, a regular holiday which incurs, if na-approve, okay, double pay pag pumasok. Okay? As of this moment, there is still no official proclaimment from Malacanang. However, okay, at least may konting heads up tayo and we await for a announcement probably today or tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
So in May, there are maybe, okay, there are two possible holidays. So there's today, May 1, and there's May 3 on Tuesday. Okay, that
And then
means,
May
for example,
9.
May 9 is hindi pa natin alam, pero hindi yan double pay.
Yeah.
It's probably gonna be a holiday, but it's probably not gonna be double paid. Okay? But
Yeah, because last
we
time it
will
was
wait.
special holiday, di ba?
Correct, correct. So, right now, ano ang official pa lang is May 1, Labor Day, which is today. Pag pumasok po kayo, it's 200%. If hindi po kayo pumasok, pero pumasok po kayo the day before, the working day before today, then that's 100%. If you are daily wage. Sa mga monthly wage, okay, dapat alam na ninyo to. Kasama na po siya sa sahod ninyo. Meron na
Correct.
po tayong proclamation. Please look at it na lang po sa PHRG Facebook page natin. Again, May 1 is a regular holiday, red holiday, double pay pag pumasok. Pag hindi pumasok, it's 100% for daily paid employees. Pag monthly paid po, it's already incurred in your sahod if hindi kayo pumasok. Okay? So there. So we will wait for the announcement for Idil Fitir. Okay, which should come out anytime today or tomorrow. Okay,
Tomorrow.
and wait for the announcement on May 9, which has yet to come. So
Correct.
abangan sa Philippine HR Group. Next. Okay, trabaho ba ang hanap mo? Libo-libong oportunidad ang nag-aantay sa mga job seekers sa face-to-face trabaho, negosyo, kabuhayan, job and business fairs ngayong linggo, May 1. Karamihan sa mga nag-alok ng trabaho sa 26 job fair sites ay nasa manufacturing, business process or outsourcing at retail and sales industry. A lot of people are asking, marami bang taong nag-hire? My answer is yes, but very important for you to get a job, you must show up to an interview. Even kami po, okay? Even kami po, we're in retail, and totoo lang, meron kami mga open positions sa kumpanya namin. Really, sakit talaga ng mga job seekers yung hindi pupunta sa interview. And then, hindi na lang sila sisipot, sabihin nila may emergency, may namatay, may na-ospital, or something came up. Mga
It's a phenomenon, no, Tina? Na parang
Oo!
pag meron kang sinet ng job interview, last minute biglang magkakasakit, something
Lahat
happened.
meron. Oo, bingo yan. Ang ano namin, ang bet namin sa opisina, how many people will not show up to the interview today? So, iba-iba kami ng mga numero, tapos kung sinong manalo, may milk tea. Because it's really a sakit of job seekers. If you want a job, please show up to the interview because you've already, pag nandun ka sa interview, the job's almost half for you na kasi ang dami-dami talagang hindi nag-show up. Okay? So, sa mga taong wala pang trabaho, please look for a job kasi baka malapit ng taasan yung minimum wage or yung wages ba. So better like find a job now before mangyari yon kasi pag kunyari tinaasan baka ano tagan freeze hiring yung mga companies. So please look for a job today. Next. Babala sa publiko, SSS is once again warning, please do not give away your SSS details because so many people are using your UMID card or your SSS information to create fraud or phishing. So please, please guard it the same way as you would guard any of your IDs. It's your personal information, it's private information. Please do not allow scammers to take advantage of it. Lalong-lalo na ngayon, especially, di ba, uso na yung mga nagde-text. Yung mga nagte-text na babala, itong tao may utang. Please ensure that you keep your private details because sometimes with your release of confidential details, ang dami talagang nasa-scam or pwedeng possible yung ibang tao na kilala mo mas-scam sila kasi akala nila yung scammer ikaw. Okay? Next. Lastly, reminder, 2 weeks na lang po. Okay? The SSS Pandemic Relief and Restructuring Program will end on May 14 for those with short-term member loans and tulad ng SSS Calamity Loan and SSS Salary Loan. Here is how it works. If you have loan from SSS previously, years ago, and then napabayaan mo siya kasi nakalimutan mo magbayad, nag-transfer kayo ng company, kulang kayo ng pera, SSS will automatically charge you a penalty of 1% per month doon sa total na inutang mo plus interest. And lumalaki yan, nako-compound yan for many, many years. That's the reason why I had a staff that borrowed 6,000. And then pagising niya, how many years later, parang 30,000, 40,000, 80,000, 100,000 plus. And that loan that you have from SSS that's ballooning will be charged to your pension. Okay, may
Hindi
binabawasan
siya
po yan. So,
nawawala.
yung mga contributions na binabayad mo at binabayad ng company mo, 'di ba? Dapat over years ini-invest yan ng SSS. Pero kunyari may utang ka, may interest ka at may penalty ka, doon nila binabawas yung utang mo doon sa dapat mong makuhang pensyon. And given that the penalty and interest is charged year per year, lumiliit yung pension po ninyo. So for example, dapat makuha nyo 300,000, baka makukuha mo na lang 50,000 because nagballoon na talaga yung loan mo at saka yung penalty ng loan mo. SSS comes up with a condonation program once every few years, usually around the time of elections. Don't know why, but it's true. So wala po tayong condonation next year. This is probably it for a few years, okay? They've already extended this until May 14, and the rule of the game is, kunyari let's assume yung loan mo nagballoon to 10,000 pesos. Example lang for simplicity's sake. Okay? The penalty is another 10,000 pesos. So your loan is 20,000 pesos in total. SSS is willing to waive the penalty part. So ang matitira na lang yung 10,000 na lang yon. And the borrower has two options to pay. Okay? You can pay either in full, which is 10,000 pesos, or you can pay by installment. Meaning to say, yung kalahati ng inutang mo, 5,000 pesos, will be paid today, and the remainder will be paid over 6 months. So that's only like how much pesos na lang? 800? Given this, ang masasave mo talaga is yung 10,000 na penalty. So instead of paying the entire 20,000, you just have to pay 10,000, which is sincerely just the money that you owed and then the interest. Sa akin, it's a very, very good opportunity. We've helped a lot of our employees, and including those na may 120,000 pesos na loan, nabayaran po nila yon through this program. Pero pinaghirapan po namin to over 6 months time. So for everyone, you can apply for a condonation up until May 14 only, and then work at paying for it within the next 6 months. Para at least yung penalty, hindi na ninyo kailangan bayaran. I hope you take advantage of it. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact us. But take advantage of this opportunity today because it comes once every few years. Siguro bawat election may darating. So do not pass out on this opportunity because this is a good opportunity indeed. Next.
Okay, update from HDMF Pag-ibig. Mga kabayan, alam naman natin na over the past few years, talagang napakarami ang humihiram sa Pag-ibig for many reasons. And one of these reasons is for the housing loan. And Pag-ibig released for Q1 of 2022 a report saying that, again, they've reached record high up to 24.2 billion in just Q1 of 2022, which is about 16% higher from last year. So Pag-ibig Fund released a record high of 24.2 billion in home loans during the first quarter of 2022, an increase of about 3.26 billion or 16% compared to last year's 20.94 billion. Now, after coming off a record-setting last 2021 with 100.8 billion in total home loans released for the year, they're expecting that for 2022 is mas magiging malaki because nasimulan na nga sa first quarter ng taon na ito. And ang dapat lang malaman ng mga mamamayan is napakaganda opportunity ito kasi ibig sabihin marami tayong mga kababayan ang nagnanais na magkaroon ng sarili nilang bahay at talagang umuutang sila sa sa HDMF Pag-ibig dahil alam nila na ang interes sa HDMF Pag-ibig ay maliit lamang kumpara kung uutang ka ng home loan sa mga bangko. Isa pa, yung interest na nakukuha sa iyo ng Pag-ibig ay ito naman po yung interest na binibigay nila para sa mga nag-i-invest para sa Pag-ibig 1 and Pag-ibig 2 investment funds. Ito yung tinatawag natin, di ba? Meron tayong regular savings sa Pag-ibig, tapos meron tayong Pag-ibig 2 na kung saan we can invest more. At last year, umabot sa almost 6% yung interest ito, which is higher than any other banks. So patuloy po tayong sumuporta sa Pag-ibig at alam po natin na tumataas ang paghihiram sa Pag-ibig, pero dapat po nating alalahanin na sana po patuloy din po yung pagbabayad natin. Kasi kung hindi po tayo nagbabayad sa Pag-ibig, nako, maapektuhan din po yung mga benepisyo po pwede natin makuha sa mga susunod na panahon. At hindi lang po tayo maapektuhan, pati po yung ibang miyembro ng Pag-ibig. Now, for PhilHealth, pinapaalahan ng PhilHealth na iwasan ang acute gastroenteritis o AGE. So, lagi nila sinasabi dito na laging magugas ang kamay upang ang infeksyon sa tiyan ay maiwasan. At bilang benepisyo, ang PhilHealth ay nakakover sa acute gastroenteritis ng up to 6,000 pesos. So, ito po ay part ng benepisyo na makukuha nyo sa PhilHealth. Now, for our sponsors, since napakarami na ngayon ang nag-ask about team building activities, summer outing, company outing, we would like to inform you that the Philippines HR Group has a partnership with El Puerto Marina Beach Resort and Vacation Club, and that if you are a member of the Philippines HR Group or an avid listener of our program, the HR Cafe, Usapang Trabaho, Buhay, Iba Pa, just reach out to El Puerto Marina Beach Resort and Vacation Club FB page, inform them you're a member of the PHRG, and you'll be given special rates and discounts. Also, Prima MaxiCare has launched 2 products. They have Prima Silver for individuals up to 59 years of age and Prima Gold for seniors 60 years old and above. These are postpaid HMO cards that you can give to your families or even to your employees. Now, if you have any questions, HR questions, please post them at the main page of the Philippines HR Group, Facebook, FB group page. Or you can also, if you're not yet a member, please join the FB group page in Facebook and also in LinkedIn. Just look for or search for Philippines HR Group. We also encourage you to please like our FB page, the HR Cafe, Usapang Trabaho, Buhay, Iba Pa, FB page. Kasi po, lahat po ng previous episodes, lahat ng learning, free training programs ng HR Cafe, nandoon po sa HR Cafe FB page, as well as our YouTube channel. And if your company is willing to be a sponsor of the Philippine HR Group or the HR Cafe, please reach out to any of our mentors, Mentors Tina, Mentors Rona, Mentor Burns, and yours truly. Okay? And as mentioned, we're now going to the exciting part of our program. As mentioned earlier, we have Englebert Kamasura, who will be discussing about people matters, building a culture of Malasakit for people. Mentor Tina, would you like to properly introduce our guest for today?
Yes, Sir Engelbert or Gilbert T. Kamasura is a seasoned business and people leader known for his great passion for people. He has 3 decades of experience in various HR and business management roles gained from local and global companies. His area of expertise includes human capital management solutions and talent acquisition. He's also the chief executive officer of PM Consulting, a preferred partner company in recruitment, RPO, and HR solutions. He is a graduate of behavioral science from UST and pursued further education through an executive leadership program at IESE Business School in Barcelona, Spain, and in New York, USA. He completed his global MBA program at Adden University in Miami, Florida, USA with the highest honor, summa cum laude. He was also conferred the honor of being a fellow in people management, the Society of Fellows in HR. His dedication in advancing HR has earned him a seat and a member of the board of advisors in the Human Resource Management Program at the De La Salle College of St. Benil. He is also a partner of the world's largest HR network, Society for Human Resources Management in the Philippines. So we welcome Sir Gilbert to share with us his thoughts on being malasakit in the Philippines. Sir
Hi,
Gilbert.
Gilbert.
Hi, good afternoon, Tina, and of course, good afternoon, Coach Darwin, and to all your viewers and followers. And I guess it's good time, no? And I'm really so grateful that I'm part of. You've invited me to be part of today's program. Very timely because it's Labor Day. So sa mga obrero, mga manggagawa, mga professional. So happy Labor Day, and you all matter to us. Yung topic natin ngayon why people matter.
Maraming
All right.
salamat, Gilbert, sa pagpapaanyaya, sa pagpa-unlock for you to be our guest speaker for today. So, let's start. Malasakit, 'di ba? Malasakit is a if I'm not mistaken, ito ay isang parte ng kultura nating mga Pilipino. Ito ay values, 'di ba? It's just part of our Filipino values. And like any other values in other countries, parang unti-unti na tong pinapasok ng or ginagawa na siyang part ng culture sa mga kumpanya tulad ng mga 'di ba, sa Japan, yung kanilang mga culture and values in-invite na nila sa workplace. And I think for the Philippines, ours is malasakit. So what is malasakit, Gilbert? Can you please tell us?
Yeah, thank you, Darwin. No? So, we all know naman that malasakit is very innate Filipino, I'd say, practice, right? It's a culture that has been passed on several years now. It is always what we hear integrated in the values of many corporations. But a lot of it are still like, ano ba yon? Paano ba talaga siya ilalagay o ma-actualize rather to make sure that everybody experiences malasakit. Let me just say, in my experience as a talent expert, and by the way, Tina and Darwin, I belong to a community which is comprised of talent builders and champions. So I'm sure they're all watching today. They're all tuning in today on a Sunday. So happy Labor Day to the team, the community of the talent champion. Ito yung mga, they share the same mission and vision as I do. Our mission is primarily same as the both of you, is to make the lives of many people become better every day. So yun pa lang, just that statement is very resonates well to people who feels like may malasakit ba ako sa iyo, sa aking kapwa. And talk about malasakit, malalim kasi siya. It's not learned, it's not practice overnight, and then tomorrow may malasakit ka. There are three things that you need to remember: the consistency, the genuine appreciation of the practice itself, and the need for having the malasakit in place. Let's put it in this manner. As a talent builder, I have seen most of the companies, and I heard you, Tina, a while ago, pag ang company needing a lot of people, we say good things about our company just to make sure that people like your company. Diba? Parang, hey, come on, join us kasi we have, and then you line up, no? But over the last year, especially during the pandemic, we have seen a lot of companies that have naturally just let go of people. Alam mo yung tipong, para makatipid tayo, sige, tanggalin na siya. Para makaano tayo, sige, let go mo na to. Let's avail of this opportunity. Let's take this opportunity to let go of people. My question there is, nasaan yung connection of that big two words which says people matter? And people matter to me means people are the drivers of business. And so in times when you need them, you attract them, right? And so recruitment becomes a very important function of any HR of any corporation or company.
Mm.
Pero
But it's
Gilbert, I know that I hope you won't mind, no. Siguro I just want to focus on this. You've mentioned that malasakit is important. It's part of culture building in for any companies. But who should be leading it?
oh,
Who should be
that's
leading
what
it? Is it Is it HR? Is it the people manager? Is it the employers, the owners of the company who should be
It
leading
is
it?
totally,
Because
yeah.
reality is there's cost in implementing a culture, di ba? Whenever we build culture, hindi lang naman yan hindi lang naman yan basta salita. You need to have investments. And
That's true.
investments would actually be your foundation to build that culture.
That's true, Darwin. So, just to say the last piece kanina, no, sinasabi ko lang that when you let them go naman, parang you just easily let go. Now, to answer your question, since it is a culture, it's like living in a community where there are rules of engagement the moment I come in. So where does it start? It starts from how the culture was set up. It starts from the leaders that actually drive the business. Ang owners ba, the president ba, and the rest of officers ba adhere to it, buys the idea of having this as part of the culture. And ako bilang isang HR practitioner like the both of you and the many viewers of your program today, I would say that there's a recipe to do, and I'll
Mm.
share it with you, no? And yung kwento lang na ito, going back nung pandemic, I organized a voluntary team. I think, Darwin, I also sent an invite na to you na marami kasing companies ang letting go. And Tina, yun yung point na when you let go of someone, yung other party, they hardly will accept it on many things. And so looking at the macro level of it, tinignan mo muna, ay, merong crisis, may crisis. And therefore, somebody has to somehow comfort and go to that level of empathize, listen, understand what they're going through. But many of the companies have just let go of people. Sabi ko, teka muna, hindi yata pwede. Tama to, Pilipino tayo. There's a need for people power to make sure that you empower people that needs that power kasi nawalan sila ng power. Nawalan sila ng work. They
Yeah.
worry about the family expense. They worry about what will happen to them in the future. So in my experience during the pandemic, ang dami, including one of the leading airlines in the country, we offered a free Malasakit program. Sabi ko, teka muna, nung palipad na lahat, nung maraming mga biyahe, talagang hire. Pero nung wala nang go, parang not consistent to the practice. So anyway, to move forward, so that started it all. And we said this program will probably help genuinely people just to feel love during the time when they need support from people that really cares for them. And I encourage the HR, of course, the leaders, the president, the finance especially, in this time of very difficult moment when people have to be retrenched or redundated, what's malasakit for you? Yun ang question ko rin, no? And I'd
Mm.
like probably the audience to answer that dun sa ating chat box, and if you could read that for me, better,
Yeah.
right? No,
Mm.
so sa akin, so apat lang yung recipe na to is based on that. You hire, you like people, you campaign, okay, good, come. And then when the time comes and you want to let go of people, what's the practice? So malasakit sits in the heart of many people because organization regard people as the drivers of business.
Mm.
They're the heart of any organization, no matter what happens. I should be ready to let go of people only if it has served its purpose, that I'm doing this in a very objective manner
Mm.
and not to discount, like, taking advantage of situations to let go of people.
I
So
agree with what you said, 'di ba? Kasi nung 2020 and 2021, when we were having months of lockdown, lower sales, and really smaller foot traffic, people began to see which companies and employers were actually just saying people matters, pero laway power lang.
yeah,
When in fact, pagdating ng, kunyari, 'di ba? At I remember it so vividly, it was March 30, 2020. Kasi
mm-hmm.
March 15 nasahuran pa yung mga tao, eh. In between may
Correct.
bangko pa naman, eh. But
Yes.
technically sa March 30 na yun, between the time of March 16 to 30, most of the tao kasi were on lockdown and walang pinasok. And then
Mhm.
April 1 to 15 of 2020, lalong-lalo na, it's already been almost a month na wala talagang trinabaho yung tao at walang pinasok. And then I remember so vividly at that time, government assistance was still in question because it never happened pa that the government actively paid money to the Philippine employees directly, diba? It was one of a kind, unprecedented, never happened yet, and everybody was calling their line managers and their employers. And I remember in the PHRG group, so many people were complaining, scene zone lang daw yung messages of nila.
Totoo naman.
Agencies were asking principals, what are we going to do because these employees don't have work, we don't have money, obviously, and as the principal, are you willing to help out or not, kahit na 50-50. And I really remember at that time, between March 16 to April 15, so many companies actually ignored the pleas of their people. And these were companies that said people matters, people first, people are
Mhm.
assets. And then all of a sudden, like sabi ko nga, kung ako, yung mga employees ko, mga 6 years, 8 years, atong mga employees nila, mga 15 years, 20 years, and they have always said these people were their family, second
Mhm.
family. And at the time of the lockdown, nakalimutan na yung relasyon.
Correct.
Nakalimutan na talaga yung relasyon. And it was really a problem, not because of the salary per se, but people were starving kasi nobody really, like March 16 to 30 at that time, ubos na yung pera ng March 15. Baka meron pang konti. And everyone was locked down, nobody could work, and people were really starving. So in a way, the government assistance of SBWS, SAP, and Dole Camp was helpful. But true enforce, dapat yung employers yung unang nag-volunteer. Hindi nila
Correct.
dapat inantay hanggang huling-huli. Like, a lot of the employers got back to the employees after SBWS was announced.
Correct. Uh-huh.
And it
Oo.
showed the employees talaga, nadismaya talaga mga tao because they were like, oh, all this time, these employers were telling me they love me. And yet, when I was starving, where were they? And we see now that Malasakit apparently is a good, feel good word that everybody paraded, but not everybody practiced.
Mhm.
Right?
Oo naman.
And eto nga yung totoo, lahat mabait, pero pagdating ng pera, lahat kalaban. Diba?
That's
Yung,
true.
and it was
That's
fine,
true.
right? People suffered during the first lockdown. They suffered in August. And then the lockdowns were like 2020 to 2021. And we could really see, and it was true. Ito lang masasabi ko. Employers could afford it eh.
Mhm.
Honest to goodness, it was March. It was March. December was the closing of books, usually the peak season. Honest to
Mhm.
goodness, employers and companies could afford giving out a little bit of allowance and ayudas, but many stubbornly refused to do so and ignored the pleas of the people. And why do you think that's the problem, Sir Gilbert? Parang, is there a disconnect?
Well,
Before you
I'm
answer that,
yes.
add ko lang dun sa question ni Tina. Kasi 'di ba napag-usapan natin yung na-mention kanina, tenured employees
Yes.
versus new hire employees.
Mm.
Dapat ba magkaiba ang treatment nito pagdating sa malasakit? Kasi mukhang nagkaroon ng time ng pandemic.
Ang
Yeah.
masakit do'n yung mga matatagal na, wala, eh. I was surprised when I'm interviewing now. It's like people who have been in a company for 10, 15 years, 20 years, no help, no assistance. All they had was SBWS, which was shocking for me. Like, what happened to the family mantra? Why do you think, Sir Gilbert,
Okay.
what
Well,
happened?
yun na nga eh. So, because the practice has not been fully integrated talaga, and people say that you like this as a people strategy because it could be part of your people strategy for a very impactful engagement. But
Mm.
most of which are gets disconnected depending on which translation you're coming from. If you're coming from and translating this from the point of view of looking at the revenue of the organization, then malasakit may have to be, the definition of it would tweak. Ang sasabihin niyan, depende kung may pera pa, which we understand as HR
Mm.
driver. yung sinasabi mo kanina, Tina, na, walang fund eh. So we have no recourse but to let go of people. But later I'll tell you, ano pa ba dapat yung mga ginawa, right? Ano pa ba yung pwede
Oo.
ginawa? I'll share that with you. And then in the case of unfair treatment and not same looking at, or, capability-wise. Kasi when you look at people, and as HR, dapat balance eh. You look
Mm,
at everybody from a very objective lens and looking at
mm,
pare-pareho naman kayong kagalingan. And so
mm,
dapat you treat the same way. Walang na
mm.
lumalamang, wala rin naman na
Tama.
hindi,
Mm,
right? So, when all of this started, sabi ko, mayroon lang, kaya nga in that program, Malasakit HR number 4, Juan. So, pag you read it, Malasakit for Juan program, which I've introduced along with those volunteer leaders that have joined me. The 4 means something, and this is the 4K. Apat na K. First K is what you call the kapakanan. And the
mm,
kapakanan is about the welfare, the well-being of the individual. How are individuals, ito na yung mga kasagutan dun sa question ni Coach Darwin and of course Tina, na sinasabi mo, dapat binalyo natin yung kapakanan ng bawat tao
mm,
from
mm,
the point of view of the individual saying, I have so much anxiety that's coming up. Not even during the pandemic, even in the kind of work that I do, in the kind of environment I have. Parang, how are you ensuring that there's a psychological safety practice within the organization? Number two, are you making sure that the welfare of individuals, like people working on the night shift, are offered whatever support, which I'm sure a lot of organizations naman champion here. Like the
mm,
BPO will always have their safety program for the women. They have all of these bunk beds that they have to offer. Pero paano naman yung mga ibang kumpanya? So,
mm,
I'm not saying we're not practicing, huh? What I'm saying is it would be nice that whenever a company lands in the country, our Philippines, alam mo yon, yung medyo safe, medyo protected ka because of there is such a word, there is such an HR practice we call a malasakit HR, right? So kapakanan is very important. And the total well-being will never ever be complete if we never look at the kapakanan of the person. The second K is what you call the kaunlaran. And kaunlaran is about progression. Kaunlaran means for you to be able to advance, for you to be able to adapt to the new technology, for you to be able to manage your new assignment at work, for having a new technology, for having a new application being introduced in the company. What are we doing with our workforce? And alam mo, very nice nga itong ginawa ninyo and your team is because today is Labor Day.
mm,
Inaalay ko itong aking discussion not for HR but also to the general workforce. Again, yung mga obrero, whether they're a skilled worker, you're a professional, this is all our day. But how are we developing our workforce? You keep on complaining very unproductive people. But what interventions have been introduced to make these people very productive too? What have you been introducing in terms of skills development? Is there any reskilling, upskilling that we're doing in such a way that people feel they're also valued? Just like any individual who's put in a new environment, there's adjustment. Just like any machine, no? But I don't want to compare kasi people to machine. Machine needs to be oiled as well. People needs to be trained too para
mm,
sila ay gumaling pa at yung kanilang kahusayan, kaalaman ay parang pagtibayin pa because you believe in it. But what do I hear at times? Sorry, I'm sharing this in the light of perspective that not all companies will do. There will be companies saying, training, cut mo muna yan. Wala tayong budget for training. Pero gusto mo mag-up yung iyong customer service. How will they be trained when you're not even interested or open to have training? Now, for people who are in training now, use this point that we're discussing. You
Gilbert, I have an ano, I have a experience on that. I saw a post over the past few days na ang problem ng company nila is dahil nagbabalikan na yung mga tao sa office, may kanya-kanya daw silang so hindi sila magkakilala. So kailangan daw ng team building.
Mhm.
Kailangan daw magkaroon ng unifying force to ensure
Hmm.
that magkaroon ng alignment of each and every
Okay.
department. Pero naghahanap sila ng free training, ng free team building, ng free facilitator.
Alam mo,
So,
hindi, sa totoo lang,
ayaw
Tina,
mag-ano,
oo.
ayaw mag-invest ng company.
Correct. Roger, Coach Darwin and Tina, sa totoo lang, we can offer. Ako, to be honest, I've been running programs, alam mo yan, Darwin, like your Philippine HR. We offer free training, learning session for HR to know. We also offer free brown bag sessions, yung mga ganyan. Pero naman, companies, you need to recognize may mga efforts din to design the program. Ito na, kami na nag-design ng program, inayos naman namin yung facilitation of the program, hindi niyo pa pinagpaalam, nag-run kayo ng program, ginamit niyo yung aming program. Di ba, alam mo yung parang, that's not really good. So, ako, when there is a need for companies to invest in training, please, spare. Because again, sabi nga natin, this is the moment that we need to build your organization's capability and yet you're not willing to spend. And
Mm.
this is where our business partnership in HR will come in. We have to be bold as the marketing people, demanding for budget for them to increase the sales. The sales will never increase if the efficiency of people will always be tagged at the average. So there is really a need for intervention for you to build, and that's training, hindi ba? So for
Mm.
those organizations that doesn't have training, thank you for checking Philippines HR and looking for facilitators. I could volunteer, pero it will not be sustainable. Kailangan po ilagay po natin yan at one point in time. In your annual budget, kailangan po natin. Because
Mm.
again, it is part of your Malasakit for HR program. Hindi
Mm.
po pwedeng, pagka lagi na lang po libre, ang tawag po doon, abuso.
Mm. We have
Parang,
a quote
right.
from
Oh,
Sir Ron Ona. I agree, Gilbert Kamasura. Employers through HR should have effective intervention to build character, culture, and competency beyond company outing and team building. And then there's another speaker that says, May Niragag Nugas. Nice, Sir Gilbert. I agree. And she also shared with us her experience. Sabi niya, my former employer provides allowance. But we, the managers, he didn't support us. They held our salaries kasi malaki na daw. Also, they didn't process our SBWS, but me as the HR, I processed it sa DOLE. So all our staff received their DOLE 5,000. This was in reference to the 2020-2021 lockdown. So I
Grabe
think
ba?
ang nangyayari kasi with regards to what you just said, parang it seems that a lot of companies, they just want the results agad-agad. If there
correct.
was
Mm,
a program, magic wand, magic carpet, whatever, magic lamp, wherein they can say, I want malasakit for all my tao. And then they're pouring money into it, they're asking for trainers, pero sa totoo lang, parang ninilagyan mo lang ng magandang wallpaper yung bahay mo. Pero yung
mhm.
loob, sira yung electrical wires, inaanay na yung wood, yung semento, parang marami na palang butas.
So very
No matter,
facade.
'di ba, the facade, because a lot of
Mm,
companies, they want to look good to recruit to their interviews. They want to look good to customers. They want to look good to other people. So they do a lot of parang aesthetic programs to make it seem as if they're a company full of love and happiness and contentment and joy. Pero sa loob niya bulok.
that's
all
true.
of these
Oo.
all of these additional pampaganda, nawawala rin siya after what, 1 week, 2 weeks. Tapos pag bumaha, pag kunyari malaki yung typhoon, dun talaga tutulo yung tubig. Kasi hindi
Diba?
naman talaga nila naayos yung bubong.
Mhm.
Pininturahan
That's
lang
true.
nila. Kasi siguro mas mura ang pintura at yun yung nakikita.
That's
Pero the
true.
people inside the house are suffering because everyone thinks they're in a good company, but actually they're the ones getting wet inside. And nobody knows how to fix it because it seems that nobody wants to fix it.
That's true.
Diba? And
Agree.
what's the problem nga? Parang, alam naman ng management kung anong kailangan gawin, 'di ba? Why don't
Well,
they want to do that, 'di ba?
Oo.
sometimes
Kasi,
kasi management tend to like freebies and free stuffs without
Mm,
even understanding that if you get something for free, you don't value it. Eh. Di ba most of the time, if you get something for free, you don't really value it and you don't follow up. Ang importante
mm,
pa naman sa training, sa team building, sa strat planning, is meron mga follow through. Kasi doon mo makikita yung ano eh, doon mo makikita yung effect. If the team
Mhm.
building, if the strat planning, if the goal setting of the employees nagmamanifest na ba? Kasi kung kumuha lang kayo ng isang facilitator just to have people
mas libre pa.
undergo games, 'di ba? Mag-swimming lang, mag-games lang, hindi team building 'yon. Kasi ang team building hindi lang po basta laro.
Correct. That is true. So a lot of it would be, translated in or done in a wrong manner. I like what Daisy said. No, so it is learning is really, pushing the consistency of the growth. Remember, when you hired people, you hired them for the talent and the knowledge and the skills they have. Now there is supposed to be a continuity of people journeying with you, which is kaya ko nga sinabi, nauna na tayo dun sa kapakanan, which is making sure they feel good. I feel like I'm really part of this organization. Yung susunod natin is yung kanilang kaunlaran, which is the progression that will come along in this company. Kasi remember, when people know that you're investing on them, sabi nga nila when you take care of your people, people take care of your business. And that's
Mm,
malasakit bottom line. You don't
mm,
even have to force people to render overtime. They will at no costs. But if
mm,
you don't train them and they train and invest, they will say, naku, ako na nga nagtitrain ng sarili ko, wala man lang and compensation or whatnot. And so you see
And
people, parang nagbabalikan sila ng, ano tawag doon, parang they kind of push each other's point to say, wala naman investment, so I could just leave. Right? Hindi po siya, well, I would say it's two things.
hello?
No? Because okay,
Go.
did I
Yeah, medyo nawala. Go.
okay.
yes,
So two
Tina.
things. I want everybody to realize that investing in people is an important factor in their kaunlaran of the Malasakit for HR. There is no such thing as HR training for free, right? Hindi naman po yun. In fact, you even set up your own training department. Some bigger organizations have their training department and they have their training academy for them to constantly rebuild their organization's people capability. For the smaller, medium enterprise, this is where you could reach out to consultants in the hope that these consultants will actually offer you the least rate that you can, so that even if you're a small, medium enterprise, it's going to be more affordable. But I think what's important there is, how does it impact the bottom line? When people feel that you care for them through training, when people feel that you have something for them to progress their career, then they'll stay longer. For people who feels like they're treated like a commodity,
Right.
will be gone soon, because
Right.
walang puso dun sa pangalawang aspeto ng ating malasakit for HR. At nung tinitignan ko nga siya, ang ganda lang pakinggan, 4K for HR. So dalawa na yung napag-usapan nating K. Yung susunod nating K, ang pinag-uusapan dito ay kabuhayan. And Darwin, you were saying about a while ago, you don't give people just because you want to please them. Certain, like, I give you this money and I want you to be happy. No, the translation of giving is malasakit,
Mm,
regardless of the value that's in it. The art of giving is caring. The art of receiving is love. It's being cared. It's feeling that you are very much an important aspect of the community.
mm,
So in the absence of kaunlaran, where people progresses as well, not just career, but alam mo yung makikita mo yan in companies where they extend support for people to become more entrepreneur. Ako, I admire companies who allow people to encourage people that their CSR, yung kanilang corporate social responsibility, becomes their employees muna. Kasi why help others when you're not able to help your employees?
Mm.
Yung tumutulong ka magpagawa ng mga bahay sa mga shanty and little houses there, but your people are not earning much, or you're not even teaching people how to fish. You're always giving the fish, di ba? Yung yun na lang kasabihan na yon. Ako, what I do is I always say, people, come on, I encourage you to be financial literacy. Go there. If you think you could campaign for it, basta importante you believe in it, so that people are trained how to become more self-sufficient, so that pagdating ng panahon when there is a challenge in life, when there is a challenge in their corporate state, then they're ready. Kasi kaunlaran means crisis, crisis, being crisis ready.
Mm.
And look at the experience during the pandemic. When whole organizations, and no one was prepared for that, ay nagkaroon ng pandemya, walang ready of any of the employees except those that have really gone through becoming an entrepreneur in on the side, online selling, hindi ba? Yan yung mga nabuhay noon. Financial literacy. Why financial literacy? Natakot kasi mga tao because it's all about sickness and death. And pag wala akong insurance, baka walang mag-cover sa akin. Online selling becomes so popular. E-commerce was a boom. It picked so well. Yung mga naiwanan, yung mga corporate, umaasa sila sa ayuda. Umaayas. Because again, you train people of the material things that you give. But kaunlaran is all about um, empowering individuals so that they'll be ready financially. Kaunlaran means, stepping up and becoming more empowered so that I could see what the future lies ahead. And
Sir Gilbert, mm-mm,
if there's no kaunlaran, let me just finish Nina. If there's
mm-mm.
no kaunlaran, ano ba nangyayari? Some people are forced to let you agree with them, lalo na po yung mga nasa manufacturing. Kaya po ang realization ko, nagkakaroon ng union because they don't feel like you're helping them become maunlad eh. So ngayon, sila ngayon, ine-negotiate na namin tong kaunlaran namin. Pero kung meron po kayong programa that's built in out of genuine care, out of malasakit, hindi po yan mangyayari. Yes, go ahead, Tina.
I felt that what you said a while ago. I felt it was kind of sad that many employees resorted to outside ways to raise money, because it kind of symbolized to me na parang they felt that they cannot fully depend on their employers to subsist themselves and their families, and are forced to actually come up with alternative ways to generate income for their families. Na kasi 'di ba, I know, for example, pag binawasan yung araw mo, then of course yung income mo mababawasan. But technically it was supposed to be a temporary thing. In a
That's right.
way, there seems to be a growing distrust between the employees, na they felt that the employers were not really on their side, that they had to resort to coming up with their own solutions to generate income and to make sure that their families are stable. Kasi in our company, walang nag-gig. Walang nagbenta ng baking items, walang nag-sideline, kasi they had trust then na even if we reduce the days and the hours, it was not out of bad faith. And as soon as the market picked up again, at the very first moment, we would actually return them back to work and increase their days, because that's what they are supposed to do. They should depend on the employers and not on themselves. That's why they're
That's true.
working full time for an employer.
That's
'Di ba? And
true. And
if they were just, baking and etc., this is good. These are good hobbies. But ultimately, I think we need to emphasize that employees should trust and should have some sort of dependency on the companies they're in, kasi they're fully invested. They're fully invested. They're there full time. They're working 5 to 6 days a week. The rest of the days supposedly are for rest days with their family. So hindi sila dapat masyadong mag-hustle, because dapat yung employer nila have that, gives them a peace of mind that they are taking care of their people, and these people should not be too afraid or too anxious, because the best is yet to come and they're in it together. Diba? I
Ako,
think
I have
parang
a,
nawala yung ganong malasakit memo eh. Lalo na, for example, you can't blame the companies because sometimes it's so big. But I've always believed that there is that responsibility for employers to take care of their people kasi the employers are big, they have more money, they have more capability, they have more, the brilliance is there. And then these people parang mas wala. Dapat yung mas wala depende sa mas may meron. Hindi sila dapat na gagawa ng sarili nilang, what do you call it, parang diskarte. Kasi kulang talaga yung suporta na binibigay ng mga employers nila sa kanila. Coach Darwin, what's your thoughts?
I have a different thought somehow kasi for me, two things. I believe that the current law right now in the Philippines when it comes to labor law needs to be improved where it should also support employees being able to work in other organizations in the same time because I feel that kasi hindi naman siya bawal tulad sa ibang bansa eh. In other
Mm,
countries, people work at two, three jobs at the same time, di ba? And it doesn't mean that pag nagtrabaho ka sa iba't ibang kumpanya, pababayaan mo yung trabaho mo, yung main responsibility mo. I think that there's an opportunity for our our what do you call this, our House of Representatives to look into such laws wherein they would also make kumbaga, diba, they would inspire people to either be entrepreneurs or
mm,
do side hustles without compromising the main job that they have. Kasi naniniwala naman ako na hindi lahat ng employers malaki, hindi lahat ng employers kayang suportahan albawa for companies of like 10, 20, 30,000. Hindi mo naman lahat yan po
mm,
pwedeng
mm,
bigyan ng ayuda. Pero what you can do is to allow these people to make use of their free time to
mm,
to have sidelines that is not impacting your current business. Diba?
mm,
Or to make use of their free time that would be beneficial for them. It's pero kasi ngayon yung may mga batas tayo na nagre-restrict eh. 'Di ba?
mm,
So
mm.
I don't know. That's my opinion. I always believe that people should be given a choice because people should be mature enough to make decisions for themselves.
And I totally agree with you there, Darwin. In fact, in one of my guesting in the national TV, I think in ANC, sabi ko nga, with the pandemic challenging the workforce were forced to thrive in this
Mm,
circumstance, and people cannot be blamed for that.
mm,
And then, with that said, people now started realizing that they could actually be more resourceful during
mm.
this pandemic. And what
But
pandemic
they have
has taught,
other talents, Gilbert. They have talents in baking, in cooking, and
yeah,
YouTube!
what pandemic
YouTube.
taught people is to be more self-sufficient, that they
Correct.
will no longer be reliant on what just an organization will do, which I said. And so I push, and I totally agree with you. I push for that this be considered as a point for the law of this country to open up and say you could actually gain, to work or three for as long as mental health, physical health, it doesn't suffer. Your productivity in any organization doesn't suffer. But I think there's so much adjustment that needs to be done because there are now two employers. So ito
Mm,
medyo intriguing itong point na to. But I'm sure if that would have been open, a lot of people would even spare like 4 hours of their extra time just for the kaunlaran side to build up. Now, the
Agree.
kaunlaran kasi makes it, you know why it's a very important part of the Malasakit for HR that we design, the heart of which impacts the basic community of this individual, the family members, which includes parents that they're probably supporting, the children that they wanted to support and making sure that they're in school all the time,
mm,
the entire family to eat, the regular habit of having 3 meals a day and still going out just to have that money. But if it all impacts family, then kaunlaran, the malasakit, tagging kaunlaran as a part of the recipe, medyo questionable. to your point kanina, Tina, when people are hungry, they will seek ways.
Mm.
And ito naman yung aspeto ng Filipino attitude natin, yung didiskarte yan eh.
Mm-mm.
Wag
Mm.
lang
Mm.
magutom ang kanilang pamilya. Wag lang sila
Mm.
mapaalis sa bahay na yan. But
Mm.
that is where kaunlaran, because this is the source of their income. And you cannot have people working for the company. Alam mo, maririnig mo dyan. Some employees will say, alam mo, kami sa buong buhay namin, hindi naman kami nagko-complain na minimum wage eh. The
Mm.
problem is kayo naman na kailangan namin sweldo. Wala kami man lang isang minimum wage at hayaan kami ng kumpanya na magutom. I
Mm.
hear this. I hear this. And so it hits me so well. And so that I strengthen it by saying, no, it is going to be very important. Teach your
Mm.
employees. Ulitin ko ha, ako ang aking recommendation is before you even reach out to poor communities, are you sure that you have a CSR that shows malasakit for your employees? In a way na may fund kayong binibigay, donate a book, have a scholar. Pero nagugutom yung inyong mga kasambahay, nagugutom yung inyong mga colleagues at work. Baka naman teach them how to create livelihood programs, set up a cooperative, set up a learning education where people will be taught how to do dressmaking ba yan, or plant something at the backyard, and then have your weekend market, or when they learn how to do baking, then yung mga food in order nyo, it becomes an entire ecosystem where communities are just supporting within the community. Darwin, ang dami niyan sa CSR, di ba? Natuto sila mag-online selling, yung mga, and sometimes we laugh at it, yung mga pamain, but they're rich. Di ba? They've earned so much money, even higher than what they were being paid as a CSR. Yung mga nagmamine, mga ganun, nakikita ko yun eh. And they sell. They sell for certain clothes, and they earn like 100 pesos per sale. So very
Mm.
important aspect. That again, going back, we already have the kapakanan, which is making sure that my welfare is intact, in place. Number two is my kaunlaran, which is my progression. What is my progression here? Am I being developed for something? Am I making sure that my company prepares me that I could become adaptive and that I could still be relevant in this business? The fourth, and not definitely not the least, is the kinabukasan. What is my future alongside with the company's direction, and what is my future looking like to go side by side with the company? And so whether this is an outplacement program, or whether this is an HR for one program, which means active employees, what are you doing to make sure that people relate to and can figure out that I have a future in the company? Sometimes individuals only have a short term, hanggang dito lang. When I ask them, because I always, our job, Tina and Coach Dard, we interview candidates. And kami yung mga nagiging sponge. Naririnig namin lahat yan. And I'm so grateful that I have been blessed to have placed more than thousands of employees already. For me, it's an indulgence eh. And nakikita ko lagi yan pag tinanong ko, so what's your future looking like in your company? None. And then you say you have malasakit for people. Now, going
Mm.
back to your question, Darwin, sino ba ang gagawa niyan? So for me, it starts from the top, further strengthened by HR, practiced by the community. When the community has it, it becomes the norm. So whenever somebody comes in, it becomes the way of life, the way of work, and the way of living in that organization. And
Mm.
somebody has to nurture it.
Gilbert, ROI, how to present an ROI to the owners that malasakit is something that they should be
So
championing.
people think kasi when you're running a malasakit for HR program, for one program, is expensive. I'll tell you, depende kung ano nga ang budget nyo eh. Hindi ko nga sasabihin, it costs millions and thousands. It could even be free. Malasakit kapakanan, for example, is just ensuring that you have good practice of tap at the back, A poster that recognizes individuals that have created milestone, those are priceless. They don't have cost at all. But the impact to them hits so much. And one best practice I'd probably say, when you congratulate your employee for doing a good job, do not send it to the employee. Send it to the wife. Send it to the children. Let the children read it for them. Tignan ko na lang kung sinong hindi alam mo yun, yung deep, ang lalim ng ano yun. Dad, I have received this letter. Congratulations, Daddy. You're such a hero in your organization. I didn't know. Darwin and Tina, alam ko, nag-goosebump kayo, hindi ba?
That's a good idea, yeah.
Di ba?
Wag lang daw bonus kasi baka pag nalaman ng wife na may bonus, baka singilin.
Malaki pala yung sahod mo, bakit maliit yung allowance ko?
On the lighter
Lalabas yun sa
side,
mga
on
mommy
the lighter
group.
side, alam mo, so all the viewers here of the HR, ang dami kasing ways, Darwin. So hindi ko pwedeng sabihin yung ROI, kano ba mag-justify? You have to be clear first. Are you ready to embrace the malasakit? That's a very important question and challenge I have to give to the audience here. And if you're ready, let's connect. I have so much brilliant ideas I could share with you. I have helped organizations do so. I have airline companies that have lost almost their business, but about 700 yata yung aming hinandle ng mga flight attendants. There were 300 pilots they're lost. I am still coaching a pilot up until this time who lost his job and now going back to flying. He was just so feeling grateful that there are individuals like us at PM Consulting who are willing to share our time and resource. No cost. You just have to contact us. Alam mo naman, Darwin, kung saan lungga ako nandiyan dyan eh. Ako po ay isang pakalat. I could be, I'm just in LinkedIn as well. So Tina, if there's anything I could do, happy to speak with you. No, very important. Yon. Yeah. What if there's a question yata.
There's a question by May saying, what if the HR is open to that? And she even proposed many programs to help the employees, but the owner is not open to that. What is the next thing to do and how to convince your boss? Valid
You know
question.
why? You know why they resist? Kasi they always think that there is a cost. So if I were you, do a pilot test run muna. Like yun nga, yung do programs that doesn't bear cost at all. But deep inside, actually, that's already preparing your runway so you could take off. Don't
Mm.
so don't force too much kasi lalo na for local companies who are very very tight with the budget or very conscious that every time you run this program it may cost all the time. Run it first with a practice. It could be as simple as gathering and recognizing individuals to as expensive as letting people, the performers, those that have contributed to the organization's bottom line, to travel around the world, to travel in the Philippines, yung mga ganon. So again, may ganon magnitude eh. So start it with a very simple. You don't need to even inform yung approval, no? Yung mga tipong announcement, I don't think you need to have approval. Yung early morning, yung mga early individuals coming into the office. Pwede yung batiin po yung mga yan, di ba? Tina, I'm sure marami yan eh. O kaya yung mga nagre-render ng overtime. O kaya what I do is I encourage customers to give us feedback, and that feedback is going to be given to the owner themselves. Sir, tingnan niyo po ito, and let them realize ano pong pwede natin gawin. Sir, baka naman pwede magpa-donut lang. Simula sa maliliit na donut, may pakape. Sir, baka pwede po kayo mag-join. Magkapihan po tayo with you. Ano lang naman, just batiin po sila, sir, para lalo pong gumanda yung bottom line. You have to have that mindset of becoming a business partner. At ito po yung skills na napakahirap po, pero kailangan po natin maging business partner ng ating organisasyon.
Mm. I do have a answer a little bit to that, is that as an HR, it's very crucial na you're also picking the right employers for you. Kasi for us kasi, if we're gonna pick employees, we don't hire for today. We actually hire for tomorrow. A very good litmus test for us when we regularize an employee is, can we actually bear dealing with this person for years as this person serves in our company? Like, is this a type of person we'd like to welcome in our group? Because once you regularize that person, kasama mo na yan araw-araw, through thick and thin. Because that's what working with other people is all about.
It's true.
Likewise, if you're an HR and a new HR, also look at it now. You're so willing to be regularized that you're looking at just the money, but maybe also consider what type of boss and values that the company has, because you can see it there, 'di ba? So it's very important. I don't know what type of company you want. You'll go to. It can be any sort of industry, big, small, doesn't matter kung sino yung boss mo, but very important. You need to work for a good boss and a good company who shares the same values as you. Kasi kung ikaw, ang laki-laki ng malasakit mo, tapos yung boss mo, yung puso bato, parang it's really hard to stay in that company for decades. And parang sinasayang mo lang yung talent mo dun sa company na, you know, pokpok ka ng pokpok para wala naman lumalabas sa tubig. Kasi wala talagang tubig sa loob. And
Mhm.
it's something that you have to decide before you get regularized. Don't spend too much time in a company if you think that this company has no malasakit. Kasi as what Sir Gilbert has said, nga, na it's either you have it or you don't. And it has to be authentic, it has to be genuine. And people really, your boss, the bosses or the people running it must want it. Kasi if you're the only Lone Ranger fighting for it, parang it's not. 'Di ba, parang if that's the case, is it really worthwhile to push? Kasi it's not gonna happen until the boss dies, which happens eventually. D has
So,
another question. What
but
if the
before
business
that,
owner? Hmm.
I would like to add to what Tina has mentioned. I think part of having a malasakit culture is also respecting the time of your employees, the time off or the rest days of your employees. I mean, I've seen managers, I've seen leaders of organization who treat their employees na as if they have to work with them 24/7, or they are not entitled to have rest days and they should be working because they're managers, because they're leaders. They should be up and about even on a Saturday or even on a Sunday. And one thing that I've proven is that if you maintain that kind of culture, if you don't respect the weekends, the time offs of your employees, then it speaks a lot on how you respect the employees themselves as a person. Diba? So, yun, it's just a reminder that part of Malasakit is respecting one's time.
That's
So
true. And yung genuine, yeah, make it very genuine to make it more sustainable. Because if you're doing it just for your scorecard this year, and then it's not gonna be lasting. So you really need to get the buy-in. No? So has a question like,
correct.
for rank and file and a one-man HR person, if I were you, get outsider, like I could meet with your owner and just make him realize that he's doing well, but he could improve it further if he would introduce something. And it's always coming in, like, the fear of, how will I say this to my superior? That's always the problem, is how do you start it and make it happen?
We have a lot of feedback based on what was written. So very quickly, for the past 2 years, I bought most of my meals from entrepreneurs that put up their small businesses because they were retrenched by their companies at the height of the pandemic. This week, I learned many of them has closed their small businesses because they were able to seek regular employment and their companies prohibit sidelines. There are no laws that prohibit having a second job. These are more of internal company policies. So she agrees that Congress should pass laws that prohibit such policies. And then another one is that we just have a small number of staff. One of the strategies she uses is top performing employees, like giving them certificate or monetary, similar to what you said a while
Very
ago, Sir
interesting.
Gilbert.
Thank you for sharing that. And I would encourage. I'm sure we there would be a lot of best practices, and I'm sure an hour is not enough for us to talk about this, because it's very close to the heart of many HR. And if we don't have this kind of thing, or you have it but yun pala yun, and it's not in one shell or capsule, It's going to be tiring. I know and I admire HR as well in this Labor Day, because you are great. We are all great heroes of this era. We have
Yeah.
seen a lot of HR burnout, got tired, sumusuko na, umiiyak na because of work, because they have been accused of many things, been bashed, been ganyan, but yet we remain to be strong. And with that, happy Heroes Day, happy Labor Day,
Sir,
HR
the
folks.
comment a while ago was from Sir June Mendoza. Welcome to the HR Cafe, and we thank you for gracing us with your presence. But I have another question for Sir Gilbert, kasi we've talked extensively about malasakit in the side of the employer. But what about malasakit in the side of the employee?
Right.
Kasi meron mga empleyado, then, pag punch in, petiks, 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 petiks. Lunch na. Trabaho konti. Petiks, petiks, petiks. Oop, teka lang. Overtime muna tayo. Yung ganon. A lot of HRs are also wondering, is this inborn? Is malasakit inborn? Is it something na when you hire a person, either that person has it or wala? Or is it something that an HR can develop in their employees? And how do they exactly develop that trait?
Again, as I said, it is a culture. And as a culture, ano na yan eh, it gets part of their way of doing. So it all goes and start with, you have your rules and regulations that they have to be as honest as they can, and people just have to believe whatever values they've started, from their business unit, their families, to practice it the same manner. So integrity, if integrity is big in these individuals, you would ensure that they will never ever commit. But for people who never came into that, medyo, reminders, and we will never ever be tired of doing so.
I
Our
agree
role,
with Gilbert.
our role, in fact, is we shouldn't be policing. We should always be encouraging. Reinforcement is better than always, acting like policeman inside, because it's definitely tiring.
Coach Darwin?
I, I agree with Gilbert that malasakit is something that it's to be part of the culture. It should be it's innate from the employee. It's like discipline. It's like obedience. About obedience and disobedience. Yung sa obedience, we have our obedience because of our family. And we
Mm.
have obedience at work because we have our code of conduct and we have our employee handbook. If no one is implementing, making sure that obedience is being followed, then you're building a culture that even if you have this culture being propagated, pero wala naman nagpa-follow up, matatalo ka talaga.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah.
Sa
So,
akin, it's malasakit is one of the things I actually look for before I regularize. If the
talaga.
person did not show the malasakit characteristic before within the 180 days, we actually don't regularize that person eh. Kasi parang the way we look at malasakit is it's so critical. It's so critical to the type of organization we want to build because everybody's working together, 'di ba? And usually a person with no malasakit, so kunyari, papasok siya, tapos uuwi ng maaga kasi consistently, okay lang. But usually the work that is left behind is done by everybody else and everybody else suffers. So instead of everyone finishing on time because a team member did not do their part and chooses to prioritize their own self before everybody else, nababurden tuloy yung buong grupo and people have to take up their slack, and then which leads to resentment within team members later on kasi bakit siya pwede tapos kami dito kami, we have to finish the work because that person has personal errands to do, and then later on nag-aaway na yung tao, hihirit na yan. 'Di ba? Dapat, oh, wag mo na kaming pa-overtime next time ha. And then syempre yung tao, bakit ka naman nabubwisit sa akin? Karapatan ko namang umalis, right? Because my family is important, for example. And then it becomes a very toxic
A vicious
environment
cycle.
na because everybody is looking out for their own welfare instead of being compassionate. to everyone else. Because a lot of people think malasakit is only to the employer.
No,
But
hindi naman.
actually,
Yeah.
malasakit should be amongst your employees and the people you work with.
Mm-hmm.
Kasi
That's true.
there has to be some consideration and compassion to the person you're sitting beside. Diba? So, cleanliness in the workplace is a way of malasakit. Being polite is a way of malasakit. Submitting deadline, making sure that you finish your work on time so that the next person who's doing the work is not delayed. Kasi may ibang tao magpo-procrastinate. Last minute, deadline tapos, bibigay sa kabila. Eh dahil late na bigay sa kabila, late din yung tao, naiipit, nag-overtime tuloy yung kabila kasi na, dahil because somebody didn't do their job very well. So malasakit is ever encompassing in every single within the team, within the line manager, within the HR. It's not just employer to employee, employee to employer, but it's employee to each other and everybody else. Para siyang washing machine. Hindi siya one-sided, pero parang paikot-ikot lahat. It has to be, kasi if only one person's doing it, you can't wash your laundry with just one person. It has to be the entire organization talaga, right?
Mm-hmm. Yung ako, Darwin, yung before, I'm sure we're running out of time. Ang sa akin is like, we need to let people appreciate. So appreciate, first acknowledge whatever learning they have, yun, and then appreciate, and then let them apply, and then let them assess, so that individuals will be reminded. And do not, for HR, my tips here are never ever get tired. HR is such a wonderful work. Just look at Darwin and look at Tina. They're very passionate people. And this is love for work. And this is because of Malasakit. And I hope this resonates well to the others. No matter where you belong, whether you're with a small, medium enterprises, or with your larger global companies, what is important is that desire that's very genuine for you to help people become better every day. That for me is already a genuine, and you found your purpose, which is HR.
Thank you.
Mm.
Gilbert, how can people reach out to you or to the company that you belong to, and what are services that you actually provide?
Well, we are a people organization, no? So, as you when Tina introduced me, so we're a member of the world's largest HR. So, if there are people wanting to learn more about HR, you let me know. I if we be good if we become good friends, I
Mm.
also can be like Darwin. I can coach you. I'm a fun person to be with. I'm a startup person, so if you are a startup, if you're a small medium enterprise, do not be threatened. I sound like snobbish, but I am friendly. Like, uh, we don't necessarily offer programs that are all with a fee. At times, I also get into programs that are free, depending on whether you're also nice to us, and depending also when whether these programs that you're asking are not because you're taking advantage of our resources, but with that intent that you'd like to bring your organization to a better platform and a better, I guess, an environment to work with. So if that's the case, I'm actually available. I could be seen and LinkedIn, my full name. Don't find me like a Gilbert Kamasura, but I think I could be. I'm like all over. I'm also in Facebook. We have a page as well, PM Consulting in Facebook. So just let us know. Happy to help you. And if there are individuals, kasi Labor Day ngayon, Tina and Coach Darwin, no? If there are individuals, HR especially, that are still looking for a job, we're here to help you. Okay?
Mm.
Hindi
Anong
po kami
openings niyo, sir? Ano mga openings na usually
lahat. Ako
hinahanap
na
ninyo?
nagsasabi, lahat.
Anong
Lahat.
klaseng lahat?
From startup HR head to HR
Mm.
manager, HR supervisor, payroll. Kung kayo naman po yung accountant, lahat din po ng klase ng finance operations. Kung kayo po yung marketing, IT. I mean, we are recruitment and RPO. Recruitment company po kami. So, duly licensed by the Department of Labor. So, we support organizations, whether they're big, they're small, they're local, they're global. Ang amin pong intention is isa lang. Just like you, we want people to become better. Why? Because people matter.
Oh,
Thank you for that, Gilbert. Last words from you, Mentor Tina.
I believe that malasakit is a conscious effort. And unfortunately, so many of companies and people are using it as a feel good mantra, but without genuine love and action, okay, towards the others, then the word malasakit is useless. My tip sana based on what we've discussed, number one is HR manager should identify that the companies they're working for has true malasakit. And one way to see that is to see how your bosses or the company has acted at the time when the people needed them the most. Wag kayong mapabola. Look at the actions. Look at if the company is truly showing genuine concern towards you or you're just a number on a spreadsheet. Okay? Because you need to be in a company that cares truly about you for you to enjoy a longer term career. Kasi we hope naman that you stay in a company for a long time to make a significant difference. Number two, malasakit is not just to the employer, to the employee. It's also our treatment towards our colleagues and our treatment towards our neighbors, our relatives, our friends. It's not just a empty word, it is a way of life. It's being considerate to the other person. Because usually when we are born, I have a kid, they always think that everything is all about them. My feelings, my thoughts, my opinions, you listen to me, 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 me. And it's great when you're six, but not so much when you're already an adult and working with others as well. And while your needs and your family needs are important, it's more important to also recognize the needs of everybody around you, including your katabi, your ka-team member, your ka-team leader, etc. It doesn't mean that you will have to be a martyr. There is a difference with being abused to being considerate. Okay. And it's very important for employees to actually exercise consideration for others wherever they go from the time they wake up to the time to they actually sleep because malasakit is a way of life. Lastly, it is very important then that team leaders, owners should emphasize malasakit towards their people because if they're just going to say I love you but you're not gonna show it concretely. That's not love, that's a lie. And it's very crucial. At the if you're not gonna do good things, if you're not gonna be considerate, just keep quiet. Don't lie. Kasi it's a double problem. When hindi ka wala ka ng pake sa iba, pero sinasabi mo may mahal mo yung iba, tapos mukha ka tuloy sinungaling. Be consistent, live with integrity, practice malasakit only if you can deliver. So that it becomes part of you on who you are as a person, a person of integrity. So sa akin malasakit's very important, very Filipino, but I hope everybody practices it not just in their workplace but also outside their workplace and even in their families. Coach Darwin?
Agree. I think well, malasakit is a a trait of us Filipinos that has proven that it doesn't only it can be brought into work and because it creates a positive working environment. So I hope that employers, owners, and people leaders would look into how we can utilize and build a culture of malasakit to really to really value not only the employees, not only value our clients and customers, but also support the growth of our company. So again, maraming salamat po sa lahat ng nakikinig, nanonood, at sa lahat ng team replay na makikinig at manonood nitong episode na to. We'll see you again next week for another session of the HR Cafe, Usapang Trabaho, Buhay at Iba Pa. Bye everyone. God bless. Happy Sunday.